Hey guys, listen, just want to bring you an update on what's going on with the death of Stephen Twitch Boss. If you guys don't know, of course, you know, Twitch unfortunately deleted himself from this earth on December 13th, and there are so many questions remaining. You guys, it looks like we have some of the answers to those questions, but it makes all the more questions. Listen, let's talk about what we know. There was a suicide note. We're going to talk about what was in the suicide note. We're also going to talk about how his grandfather is saying this doesn't make sense because he had just talking to him, and also the last words to the grandfather. And also, we're going to actually hear a first-hand account of the person that found the body, but why they think that the gunshot, there was no mention that everybody said they couldn't hear or they didn't hear a gunshot. All right, let's get into this. There's a lot to unpack, but folks, let's just agree. One of the reasons that this has startled so many is because so many of us felt like we knew them. It was like a parasocial relationship, if that. But let's get into these reports, and then I'm going to tell you how this all plays in, okay? So they're saying Stephen Twitch Boss left at least one clue as to what his struggles were leading up to his suicide. And it came in a note alluding to challenges he's faced in the past. Now, I've seen a lot of reports online that he suffered from bipolar. He was on a 5150 hold. I'll tell you the truth. You know me, I research. I haven't been able to confirm any of that, right? But this note alludes to challenges he faced in the past. Now, get this. Law enforcement sources tell us Twitch's note left at the scene of his suicide was an ambiguous reference to his past challenges. It's unclear what he was referring to in the note. Now, let me just say this, right? We do not know the exact words that were in the suicide note. The grandfather talks about what was in the note too, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I will just say, we are the general public, and it's a parasocial relationship. Just because it's unclear what he was alluding to, whether it was mental health, whether it was financial, whether there was other stress that were going on, just because it's alluding to us doesn't mean the people that he actually wrote the suicide note, that doesn't mean that they don't know exactly what he was talking about. So do you see me? Ambiguous and unclear what he was alluding to us, but I'm sure to his family, who I assume he was writing a note to, they knew exactly what he was talking about. Now get this. They said, we're told investigators had determined Twitch took an Uber from his home to the motel, less than a mile away from his home Monday morning. Now, this fact is interesting because it was first suspected that he walked from his home to the place because two things. One, his car was in the driveway the whole time. And two, that motel was only 15 minutes away from his house. So people, including investigators, thought that he had walked. However, and again, his cause of death is still being determined as a suicide, but it's just another interesting layer that he actually took an Uber. So it was a 15-minute walk, so he took an Uber. So it was basically like a 5-minute Uber ride or 6-minute Uber ride. But then again, knowing LA traffic, it might have been a 15-minute Uber ride, but he did take an Uber. But get this also. A lot of people are asking, how come nobody called him? How come his wife, this and that? They're saying that the investigators are telling TMZ that he switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach or track him. No one could reach or track them. Now, TMZ did break the story that Allison was frantic when she showed up at an LAPD location Tuesday. That was on the 13th, the day his body was found, saying Twitch left home without notice and wasn't answering her calls. Okay? It's important to know Allison also said that they had no problems, which led to a lot of people speculating like, wait, so you and your husband weren't arguing. You guys had no problems. He left his house unexpectedly. There's 3 small children on Monday, right? During the day, you left your house, 3 small children, you just disappeared. She didn't know where you were. There's 3 small children. Even the 3 small children, they didn't ask for daddy as they went to sleep. You look outside, your car's parked in the driveway. It wasn't until the very next day that she around, it's unclear what time she ran to the police station. It could have been early morning, it could have been not. I'm going to read and see if we can get the exact time. But you went into a police station frantic, not even 911, because you knew something was wrong with your husband, because it was so out of character for the car to be in the driveway. Now, I do want to say this, right? The one thing, it does seem like, but the one thing we might be missing, and again, they don't owe us anything. Allison could have been away with the kids. She could have been spending the night at a friend's house with the kids. We're assuming that Allison and the kids were home. She could have literally showed up that morning, right? And been like, tWitch, where's your car? His car's here, but he's not home. Called him, phone went to voicemail. And because she knows her husband, she flipped out and was like, this is unlike you. And she ran to the police station. I'm just putting alternative theories, because again, the police are ruling this as a suicide. But let's get into what the grandfather has to say, because I think this is actually really, really important. The grandfather is saying that he's saying that he is still not sure that his grandson's death was a suicide, though LAPD confirmed that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound that killed him. The grandfather is saying that he's not sure it was a suicide, right? And let's also not forget that tWitch celebrated his wedding anniversary with his wife 3 days before shooting himself in the head. But there's more, you guys. The grandfather literally says that he's not sure it was a suicide because he said that tWitch messaged him before his death saying, I love you, dad, right? And he did that 4 days before his death. Eddie Boss, he's 84, said that there were no signs of stress in the weeks or months leading up to his death. He said, we spoke as recently as Saturday on more than one occasion. So he left his house on Monday, right? Tuesday, that's when his body was found. But he had spoken to his grandfather, dad, on Saturday multiple times, okay? His grandfather goes on to say that he was a very humble, generous person. He brought light into everybody's lives. We're completely devastated right now. All I can say is he was just a beautiful person that contributed so much to this world and to everyone he met in a positive way. We will miss him dearly and we're hurting tremendously. There's Eddie, who traveled from Arizona to be with the family. The grandfather is in LA right now, is urging others to look out for warning signs in their loved ones. He said, every word has meaning. His last words, again, simple text that says, I love you, dad. He said, our question is why? Where did this come from? Needless to say, the grandfather is heartbroken, and he keeps reiterating that there were no signs that the dancer was troubled in the weeks before his death. Now, I do also want to say, a lot of you guys were in the comments and just people on social media, just because people think they know what depression looks like, and people think depression are people just crying all the time and beside themselves. And that could be what some people's depression looks like. But they also say that people think they know what when people are ready to delete themselves looks like. And oftentimes people are just on the outside, front facing, acting like everything's normal. Meanwhile, there is a war raging in their heart, in their mind. Some people even describe the way they hear voices saying, you're worthless. Nobody wants you here. Why don't you just end it? Like, there's so many ways that it shows. So just because it doesn't show traditionally, if nobody's ever had these type of thoughts, just because it doesn't show the way you think it is traditionally, doesn't mean that they weren't there. And I think that's some of the confusion the grandfather could be feeling. But I don't want to discount the way the grandfather feels. If he feels like something's not adding up, then he knows them better. Again, he was found dead in a room at the Oak Tree Hotel in LA, which was a 15-minute walk from his LA home, but yet he chose to take an Uber. Again, the coroner's office is saying there were no signs of foul play. And oddly enough, Ellen played tribute to him. And Ellen, she's been having quite a crazy, again, Ellen's not the focus of this, but now you have to go to tWitch's funeral. And before that, Anne Heche also died, trapped in a fiery blaze for 45 minutes before passing away in the hospital. You guys, let's just actually get to this. Let's get to what the person that was on the eyewitness is saying. Whew, this is just heavy. So again, a maid discovered Twitch's body while performing a welfare check after he failed to check out on time. So he didn't check out on time. And you know how when I never knew that's what they called it, welfare checks. You know how when you're supposed to check out at 11 and it's 11:15 and the phone rings and you pick up the phone like, hello? Oh, yeah. Oh, is it already 11? Okay, yeah, I'll be out of here in like 20 minutes. Meanwhile, your suitcase is all over the place and you just came out the shower. But apparently one of the reasons why they call you over and over to see if you pick up is that supposed to be a welfare check, because apparently a lot of times these things do happen in hotels and motels. So they then knock to enter the room. Now listen to this. They said that Twitch used his own name to check into the motel on Monday and was not discovered until Tuesday morning. Workers said he shot himself in the head, but they're saying, all the workers are saying that no one heard a gunshot, describing the scene as pretty bad. This is the person that found the body. Again, he left home without his car, and when he didn't return on Tuesday, disappearing overnight, his wife frantically ran to file a police report. Now, the manager of the Oak Tree, Rakesh, says he went into his room and he never came out. At 11:15 a.m. on Tuesday, the maid opened the door to check on the room. There was stuff in there, but no one there. She checked the bathroom and there was blood everywhere. She was very scared. This is the first time anything like that has happened here. We called 911 and they told us to check his pulse, but there was nothing there. The paramedics and the police came and they said he was dead. Maybe he did it during the day on Monday. It was a busy, loud road outside here. It's possible nobody heard it because of that. Now, they're saying that Twitch called ahead at around 9:02 a.m. on Monday to check if rooms were available and then walked the few blocks from his home. That's what they first thought. Now they know that it was actually an Uber and appeared completely normal and calm. This is so sad. Twitch and Allison, oof. They were set to, their 9-year anniversary. There's just so much going on, but it's just so interesting that he called ahead on 9:02 a.m. Monday. He appeared completely normal and calm. And a lot of you guys in the comments said that you guys have read or even experienced that when people are ready to leave this earth, they somehow get very, very calm, almost determined, like they've completely given up. You guys, I have in this video had the suicide hotline information there. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you are dealing with these thoughts. If you are dealing with these thoughts, know that you are loved. Know that you are needed. And know that even though it seems dark so much, there is a light. You were put here for a purpose. And please don't extinguish that light too early. Make sure. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. As more and more details come out, it is just so sad and tragic. The wife seems to be accepting this as a suicide. She lived with this man. She knew him better than we did. The grandfather definitely has questions. And again, the staff has given their statement. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later.